Hello, and this is if this is your first time here, I am Lisa Blunt, LPC, and I am here with none other than Dr. Kimberly Chandler. If this is your first time here, well, actually, I'm a counselor in Houston, Texas. I should say that I practice in Houston, Texas, and New Jersey. Dr. Kim, you want to tell them a little bit about yourself and where you practice from?
Yes, I am Dr. Kimberly Chandler. I am a counselor, I'm a coach, and I practice in Louisiana, Michigan, and New Jersey.
And
I'm
you have
also
your doctorate.
in
Uh, I,
communication studies and gender, and I am also a professor and scholar.
all right now. All right. So when as we get started today, we want to cover a couple of points today. So a lot of us have seen in recent news how a
That's
word
a,
nobody wants to a word a word people do not want to mention that people have danced all around the subject. I feel like they dancing all around the topic. Mental illness. So as you can see our topic for today, wait, if I can take this off so you can see our names here first. And then if you can see our topic for today is femicide, the femicide crisis. It's femicide. Mental illness did not kill her. Mental illness did not kill her. So I think, where do we begin? Where do you want to start at today, Dr. Kim?
well, I think we need to frame this and, talk about the reason we are focusing on this is, the murdering of all of these black women that have has recently happened, right? And they was at the hands of supposedly people that love them, and not only them, but the senseless killing of all of those beautiful children in Louisiana. And so this is different, right? This is
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I think defining this term that people seemingly don't want to land on is important because if you can define something, it allows you to better serve the necessary or actually approach this kind of issue in necessary ways.
Yeah, I agree. I let me first ask you this before we even go into it. Um, how how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm hot as fish grease. I'm hot as fish grease. Um, Also, and I'm in that part of the grieving process, right? That angry, hot, mad,
Yeah,
feeling like a feeling like a thug, want to go in. Part
you
of
ready to
the
go off?
ready to go clean off. What do the kids say? Crash out. Part of the grieving process because these things have happened before. This stuff has happened. This is not new. Um, the unaliving, the term I guess is used in social media so you don't get taken off, of black women and girls has happened um, over and over by people that supposedly love them, partners and fathers when it comes to children and husbands. When women, black women leave or are in relationships and things like this has happened over and over. And because of um, systemic problems, because of the inability of our criminal justice system to um, to be responsive, even our culture to be responsive in ways that dismantle systems, um, patriarchy, because our men and black men in particular benefit from it. We don't get the traction we need in order to have a safe world for black women and children. We don't have a safe
Yeah,
world, a safe culture, a safe home. We are not safe.
absolutely. I think we're not safe. I think I don't, and it's so funny because a lot of the arguments that you hear people make is somebody said the other day, uh if men weren't around, who would women have to protect them?
Uh,
And a
oh,
lot of I was with other women, and almost simultaneously we were like, protect us from who?
thank you. Because we've
Who
been
would?
protecting ourselves forever, forever. And I
And
don't.
let's talk about the term femicide too. How the term femicide came about. So how it was coined. It was coined in 1976 by Dr. Russell. And it is a term like, well, you kind of talked about it a little bit, but it names the killing of women and girls. It names it. And this is so important. This is something that we have to name. Like some of us, and I want to go into some of the other things that happen that lead up to this that perhaps don't fall into this bucket, but can very well lead us to this space.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it's important for people to know and to distinguish and to define that this is not a matter of when you talked about the 7 children in Louisiana who died, and you talked, well, we didn't talk about her, but the ex mayor, lieutenant, what was he, lieutenant governor, or what was his
He
whatever,
used to be a lieutenant governor. Mhm.
the ex lieutenant governor who murdered his wife, and um I just think when we talk about these things, we talk about it from the perspective of, oh, they snapped.
Right.
Oh, they're having mental health struggles. So I want to talk about two different things with the difference between mental health and mental illness.
Mhm.
And I want to talk about something else I just said in that. I was trying to think of her name. Do you remember? Do you know her name? Because I really think it's important for us to say her name.
Um,
There was somebody here, right here right out Houston, basically Cypress, Texas. Her name was Tynese. I think her name was Tynese Friday.
mm,
That was recent. That was this month, also, right? There was what is her name? Can you find her name for the lieutenant governor's wife? And she
oh,
was,
okay. I can't
I
remember her
don't
name,
want,
but I certainly can look it up right quick.
yeah. And it was like since February, there's been women who have been killed by their intimate partner, by their spouse, by their husband, and a lot of times these cases, these situations are situations of estrangement that have where abuse has been involved, and these women were either on their way out or out of the house. And so
Mhm.
this is even why one of those reasons that I tell women, don't tell people to just leave. This is the most dangerous time for women when they're trying to leave a situation. So you can't just tell somebody, oh, just leave the situation without giving them creating a plan with them, creating a safety net with them, going over something so that they can be in a safe place space for them. Um, so did you
And
find her name?
here's her name was Serena. If I'm pronouncing it correct, Cerina. I think that's Serena. Here's the other piece about that too. I want to say when you talk about creating a plan, it's important that we are in community when we leave. And so not leaving by yourself, right? And so if that means you're getting together with five women and leaving, right? You're likely to be safer when you're leaving, when you're
Yeah.
with three or four people and leaving, right? Because remember, femicide is the intentional killing of women, right? Based on their gender. This stuff is
And
there's
this
a
is why your parents too told you to stay in groups. I hear so many people now. They're like, "Oh, I could do it on my own. I could do it." This is why. This is a part of why, and not that you need to live your life in fear, but you do need to be aware of the fact that
right,
this is happening. And then when it happens, it's not always taken as seriously by authorities. So this is why we stay together because we help keep each other safe as well. You leave, my parents were very clear. My family was very clear. Y'all go together. Y'all better come back together. It ain't no
exactly,
you left her there. You don't know what happened to her. I've heard stories of that lately, and I we got to stop that.
right. And you made a good point about the authorities. If you are hurt, because you left or just and not that it's your fault. I'm just saying, if that happens, you may or may not be helped by the authorities, right? Because there may be a lack of training, a lack of empathy. Um, who knows if the authorities have had their own experience where they've been abusive. So it's not always a good experience when you call the police. It's just true. It's just true. Some police departments have officers that are specially trained to deal with domestic violence situations or when there have been um, just situations in which women have been targeted. But that is not across the board in this country. And so it really is necessary for us to be in community with each other and to, as you said, not live in fear. And one of the things that helps us not live in fear is learn protective measures. If that means going out and taking a class in self defense or, learning self defense strategies, right? So that we feel strong, right? We feel able to be strong in our own bodies, healthy in our own bodies, so that we don't feel as open to being, what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I'm saying?
So we're not as like vulnerable, or what? What do you?
Vulnerable. Yeah. So we don't just feel as vulnerable. There's
I
so
think the
much.
other point. Oh no, there is, because I think the other part is that the other thing that we have to be vehemently point out is that mental illness does not equal violence. You don't get to say you're mentally ill and therefore I was violent, and because one of the things that it does is it takes the shift off the care of the people who need it. One, two, it points back to excusing that behavior because there was some type of medical reason for it. And just three, it's just almost like the system spell her, not that this person caused her harm. And I think that's so important for us to point out and not.
Yeah, exactly. I was doing a little research and let me see if I can find it. I think it was 2.9%.
Oh, 2.9%. Okay.
Right. Where's my stats? Hold on one second because I gotta find it. I think it was 2.9% of people with mental illness um, commit homicide. That was from the National Institutes of Health,
It
right?
might be
So
like 4%.
2 to 4%. That's what it was. 2 to 4%. That's what it was.
Yeah. And the
So
other 96% to 98% is not. So
so this is not a feature of mental illness. Being homicidal
but
is not a feature of mental illness. So
it
give
is a
that up.
feature of misogyny,
Hello,
coercive control, intimate
toxic
partner violence.
toxic masculinity. Violence is a feature of that, and narrow definitions of masculinity. I know we're not on
Yes.
this
Say
for
that.
this
Say that.
for this discussion, but narrow
No,
definitions of masculinity where power, control, entitlement, manipulation,
that makes
domination,
you
violence, all of those are definitions, all of those are features of narrow definitions and
of
patriarchal
masculine.
definitions of masculinity that produce the behavior that creates femicide. I know this is not a whole part of this discussion, but I think it's
Well,
necessary.
but it is. It can't go. We can't go without saying that. We cannot go without saying it because it's the. You know what it takes me to? It takes me to the difference between mental health and mental illness, and how sometimes you
Hello.
hear. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the men who show up in therapy, but there are a
Yeah,
lot of men who protest it. Right. So let's talk about mental health versus mental illness and why mental health care is so important.
yes. Mental health care is just as important as physical health care. Huh? Right? Because we need to ensure that we are working on our emotional regulation. Any of us can have emotional dysregulation, right?
Right.
Anxiety, feelings of sadness, dealing with grief and loss, but you can deal with that if you lose a job or not just losing like a parent or an aunt or an uncle or something, but you may be
If you
dealing
play
with
the sport, you no longer play that sport. If
exactly,
you move from one place to another place.
exactly day-to-day issues. And let's just talk about Black men in particular, right?
Right.
So you're here and you're in this country and you're dealing with racism. And I have in my own work, um, I have conceptualized how Black men deal with a particular kind of uh, race-based discrimination that has a feature of gender in it when you connect white male patriarchy to it. Because Black men cannot perform masculinity in the way that white men do, right? And so
Say more.
sometimes that can have a feature of unresolved conflict within Black men, right?
Mm,
Because here you are in the world and you've really been taught you've really been taught how to perform masculinity, right, as you've developed. But then in this society, you find you cannot, right, because you're not a white male, right? So you bump up against those contradictions and you find you get punitive actions against yourself. You get disciplined, right, for just walking out in the world with a hoodie, right? So different things like that, right,
we're driving
can
in the car.
can cause
We're walking
dysregulation.
in a store.
Come on, come on, walking anywhere,
Walking down the
right?
street. Right.
Come on. city.
Being in your own building, using your own key to go in your own home.
So here you are anywhere in the world and you're always surveilled as a black man. Black women too now, but I'm talking about black men. You're always surveilled, right? You know the narrative we have as black people, we're never alone. We're never alone in a white supremacist world. We're never alone, right? So, how do you deal with that emotionally and psychologically if you never have a place that you can come and lay that down and learn some tools, right, in order to navigate your life if you never go to therapy? Huh? And I'm not saying that you can't have a collective of people, right, that are in your life to help you vent and things of that nature, but they ain't therapists. They can't help you with therapeutic tools.
They can't help. I mean, and I don't even dismiss, right? Having your friends, having family, having a group, whatever, wherever you go, you play on a league, you know,
Right.
all those things
Religious
help
foundation.
our mental well-being.
Right.
Religious, yeah, religious foundation. All those things help our well can be very helpful, can be very helpful to our well-being. But I think we got to highlight the fact that, like you said, our mental health is about our total well being. We all have it, just like we all have physical health, and we all need to tend to it. There are
Mhm.
moments where it requires a little bit more attention than others. So,
Uh, and we won't listen, brothers. We want you healthy and strong. We need you healthy and strong. Our country, our neighborhoods, our homes need you healthy and strong. And we ain't saying that just for us. We saying that for you. And you should want it for you first. And then for others. But for you first. And that's why therapy is necessary. Because if that's not something that lands for you, then therapy can help you with that. Okay, I'm not going to beat that drum because you know I can keep going.
yeah, well, let's go over some of the terms. Let's go over the terms, so some of the terms, so people are know and they are clear. We talked about a little bit about femicide. I'm gonna
Right?
read the term because I don't want to miss any of it. I want people to be very clear about what these terms are. So when you experience these things, you are not at question. I talk to people all the time and just want to. I'm just. It's one thing to have people not understand the coercive control that is happening to them and be on the other end of that, listening to them being controlled and almost feeling that in a sense. So let's go through some of the terms. Femicide, the intentional killing of women or girls because she is a woman. The term gender as a motivating factor and distinguishes these deaths from generic, and it distinguishes these deaths from generic homicide.
Yes. Yes. It's the intentionality that is connected to the gender,
Not just snapped.
not just snapped. You are unaliving these people because they're female. Mm,
Intimate partner femicide, a subset of femicide where the perpetrator is a current or former spouse, romantic partner, or dating partner.
mm,
This is the most common form of femicide globally
mm.
around the world. This is the most common form of femicide. In the UN estimates that I think this number is higher too. You had 139, but this right here says 140. The UN estimates roughly 140 women and girls are killed every day by an intimate partner or family member. I think it's higher.
That's higher. I don't. The one that I saw, 137, that was a study in 2012. I don't know what this study is from. I just think that's higher.
It's
Unless
cited
this,
at the bottom, but I'm not sure exactly which one it pulled from. But
and that 140, I wonder, is that one country? It just seems like, I don't know. We'd have to look
well, no,
at,
it's the United Nations, so this would have to be more than one.
because
Because
I
your
mean,
study with 139 was around the world too, right?
it's 137, but that research was in.
137.
But when I think about, okay, in particular cultures, think about honor killings, right? That's just one culture, right? So in one part of the world, then you have, like, think about our country, right? And we haven't even touched um, trans women, so we're not even going over that today. But we're talking about cis women and girls.
Yeah, because I just think it just has to be more.
And it just gotta be more. So we're gonna just say it's more.
Intimate partner violence, a pattern, not incident, a pattern, a pattern
Yes.
that includes physical violence, sexual violence. Oh, he just slapped me. Oh, he just choked me. He didn't really. That somebody choking you is an indication that they could kill you. I want you to see how.
Yeah.
I want people to know how serious that is. That is an
He just
indication that they
pushed.
could kill you. He
Here's
just
one.
pushed me.
Yes. Girls in high school and junior high school. He just pushed me. Or we just play like that. Mm-mm, mm-mm, no. We just push each other. No.
Psychological aggression. He got all the money. You don't know where the money at. You don't know where the bills are. You don't know where the mortgage, how to log into your mortgage.
Or he tells me to give him my money because he manages
Mm,
it. Well, I give him my money. Or I give him my money to pay for things. Or he drives my car. He dropped me off at work. And then I have to take the Uber because he doesn't come pick me up on time.
that financial abuse, that stalking. Stalking. They just showed up at your job. Y'all on the outs. He ain't y'all not
Yes,
he just
man.
showing up. He just showing up at your auntie house. No.
Yes. Ooh, that's a
And
good one.
coercive control. I'm gonna define that one. But about 41% of women in the United States have experienced intimate partner violence
That's a
in their lifetime. That's almost half the women in the United States that have
yeah,
reported it, because we know it's underreported. Those are the people who have reported it. For black women
40%.
specifically, the number is 45%.
45%. That's reported. And I want you to think about that because we don't often report because we have this notion I don't want to get a brother in trouble.
I don't want to get him in trouble. I don't want to harm him. I don't want him to be harmed because I know that if I call the police and the police come, he could be killed. And he's going to remind me of that. Yet
Yes.
he could
And
put
what
me in a
that's
position where
called,
I feel threatened or I feel afraid.
let me frame this for you. This is something I studied. I This is what my my
Come on,
doctoral
build it out. Come on. Give it to
this
us.
is called black male privilege. This is something that
Say
often
what
people
now?
don't say that. It's called black male privilege, right? So black males, right? You are conditioned to be masculine with all those characteristics I already talked about. But then you grow up and you become a part of society and realize some of those characteristics you cannot perform in the same ways that white males can. However, there is a place you can perform that, and that is in the black community. Huh? You can be violent. You can have entitlement. You can have coercive control. You can exercise power over who? Black women. And so there is what, oh, and you can leave your family by themselves. You can have children and leave them. Mm? So here's where black male privilege comes in. You can do all of that, and black women, because of the strong black woman syndrome, will not report you when you have uh, uh, engaged in intimate partner violence, and will continue that cycle of privilege because she's in her own syndrome herself. And all of that comes from unresolved generational trauma from enslavement.
And can we talk? I done remove myself. How can we talk a little bit about how the strong black woman fights to stay in that role, because it's a role that we always feel like we have to be in, and in fighting for that role, what that does for us, what that does to our psyche, what it does to us feeling like we need to be in that role, that we can't go to get the help we need, to get assistance that we need, to even use the skill of asking for help. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Oh, for sure. See, that strong black woman syndrome, which also comes through generational conditioning, it's like living in a contradiction, right? Strength becomes a part of our identity, right? And so we can be celebrated for that strength that we use in service to others. Um, I published a paper on this, and I conceived it as strong strength and weak strength. Weak strength is strength that we perform in and we use in service to others that ultimately does not benefit us. And
Ooh.
that's where that notion of we are the backbone of the family comes from, right? But you know what the backbone ultimately, what happens to a backbone over time? It ultimately starts getting degenerative arthritis, uh,
Hmm.
and it
That's interesting.
weakens. Mhm.
That's interesting, because we have one of the highest rates of rheumatoid arthritis, which is also an autoimmune disease, which also can be linked to stress.
Yes, but
Mm.
strong strength is strength that we use in service to ourselves in order to ensure that we are living out of a full cup and that others only get the overflow. Mhm. That's strong strength.
That's important.
Strong strength is that we are ensuring that we are fortified, understanding that we have value and that we are worthy because we are
Mhm.
here. That's strong strength.
So many people feel like they have to be depleted in order to prove something. I'm not I'm not doing enough unless I'm depleted, or I'm not measuring up unless I'm pouring out all I have to give. And I'm with you. We gotta be able to fill our own selves up. And then once we are filling ourselves up, and we are being filled with whatever we do, with your meditation, with your prayer, with your worship, with your workouts, with whatever those things are, with your people, who surrounding yourselves with people who love you and who pour into
And
you,
here's the other one. And treating yourself gently,
and treating
softly.
you gently. We
Self,
talked about that's soft life to me. I know we ain't talking about that right now, but that's what soft life is to me. Self compassion. Soft life to me
yes.
is slow morning,
Woo.
is
Yeah.
taking the time to savor the flavor of a special tea, a certain thing, taking the time to enjoy, just notice the things around you in your life. I got one
Yeah.
more definition:
Okay.
coercive control. Coercive
Yes.
control, a pattern of behavior used by an abusive partner to dominate and isolate. Oh, they don't want me around my friends. They don't want me around my family. Or they're not even saying that. They're monopolizing your time.
Mm.
Coercive control. They're not, they're the ones who say, I didn't, did I raise my voice at you? Did I curse at you? And you don't know, but you feel it. You
Mm.
feel what that feels like. You know it feels like something, but you're right. He didn't raise his voice at me. He didn't curse at me. But he is coercive. That's coercive behavior. What is happening? So it dominates and isolates, and often without having physical marks. Look, I ain't
Mm.
even get to that part of the definition, but this includes monitoring,
Mm.
isolating from family, controlling money, threats, reproductive coercion.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Oh, man, somebody trying to coerce you to. Oh, it is the underlying engine of most intimate partner violence and the strongest predictor of escalation in lethal violence. Coercive control. I want, if you don't take anything else from this conversation today, I want you to take away coercive control, that it is the strongest indicator of lethal violence.
Mm. Mm.
Let's go over, as we wrap up today, Dr. Kim, I'm gonna say, you can say it or I'll say it, but let's do a quick lightning round of things that people say. You either throw it out or I'll throw it out, and we articulate what it actually is.
Mm.
You
Things
ready?
that. Oh, okay.
I'll give you the first one.
Okay. Give it to me.
It was just a domestic dispute. Untrained. You talk about untrained police officers showing up, and then they say it was just a domestic dispute. What's the reality of what's happening in those situations?
That's an untrained police officer. Bottom line, right? And they are diminishing what's happening, right? And they are also leaving the victim out of the equation, right? It's like they're taking it as if it's a topic and leaving the human out of the equation. What has happened? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is just a topic.
And a dispute that implies that there are people of two equal power
Mhm.
ranges. Power
Mhm.
ranges. Nah.
And you know what they're
With
also
equal
doing?
power.
They're just looking for who they're going to put in cuffs. Because it could be the woman they put in cuffs. Because they're going to look for, okay, who has the marks? Does he have the most marks? Well,
Yeah.
let's put her in cuffs.
And instead, they don't look at sometimes that this was a power and control dynamic that could have led to a killing.
Mm-hmm.
A crime of passion. That's one. Crime of passion. It was a crime of passion.
Yeah. So now we're saying that here's a person that has just lost control, and that's why they did what they did. Right? It's almost going to that mental health diagnosis.
And not that they were entitled.
Hmm. Yeah, like it was a split second thing, and they were out of their mind, and so it was their passion that drove them to do this. No, they did it because they wanted to.
It's definitely not a crime of love, which is kind of how it's painted. Oh, he loved her so much. Or maybe even she loved him so much. But
It was
and
so
for this,
sick.
for all intents and purposes, today we're talking about he loved her so much.
That is so sick.
Not the entitlement and not the control that comes along with that type of thing.
Yeah, that's very sick.
Um, he just snapped. Not that he carried out a pattern of a pattern of escalating. Like he was showing you signs that he was escalating, and sometimes we miss the sign. When you in a situation like that, and I have been, if you have ever been in a situation like that, you understand that. And when you're in something, sometimes you can't see the whole thing. So even though you might feel it, you've been so used to not trusting yourself and throwing those feelings out of the window that you're not sure. And sometimes I see people and they're like, I'm confused. I don't know what I feel because they've overrode their feelings for so much and so many times that they don't trust themselves anymore. They don't trust their own judgment.
Mhm. Yep.
But I do want to say people do not just snap.
Nope. Ain't no snapping.
That type of thing is built. That type of thing is built and it builds up.
Yep.
Um for the ones who have been in the news lately, one thing I've been hearing is that it was a tragedy.
Mm.
And while it may have been a tragedy, I don't want to like sound like I'm downplaying that part, but it was preventable.
Mhm.
This was
Oh,
not a one-off situation, and they were the at least one of the couples. They were on. He was on his way out of the house. Um, but there are situations to me where these things are overlooked. Oh, y'all should stay in the house together. Y'all going through a divorce, but y'all should stay in the house together. I think even I think that's dangerous for a lot of people, especially if they're in a situation of control and they don't have anywhere else to go,
mhm.
or they may not have anywhere else to go.
Mhm.
I also think it's equally dangerous. I want to point out that even at the courthouse, I was at a courthouse and we had to spend time on the same corridor, one bench and one bench.
Yeah. See.
So you sitting here with this person for hours. And hours.
Right.
They make you wait for hours. It's not like they just like are y'all just come back and you have the protection of the people around you.
That's horrible. And when it came to these kids and the father that
The seven.
supervised these kids, people had to know what that father was like. That father did not just snap. People had to know. Family members had to know. There had to be some friends that knew. This guy acted like this before he did this.
Had to. There's no way like and that but that's what I mean by the fact that these things it doesn't have to be. Like these are preventable. And honestly it upsets me because so many times I was watching what do you call that show? Oh gosh. It was like with Judge Lynn Taller and Marriage Boot Camp.
Mhm.
And Moni Love, I love Moni Love. She was on there with her partner, and no, it was another couple, whatever, whichever couple it was. He called his friend, and the friend said, "Well, what would you?" They had to read off things that each of them said to a person, and what the person said was very abusive. It was just really it was really harsh. And he said, "What would you say if you saw this or you somebody said this?" He said, "I would say for him to go have that conversation at home, away from people." And she got up and she stormed off because it's like it's not about not having a conversation in front of people. You should not be using that type of language and that type of mannerism towards somebody.
Mhm.
And he
But you
wouldn't.
know, part of that,
His friend stood by him and didn't say anything. So this is another way that these things can be avoided.
it's that old keep it in the house. You don't go outside the house. They keep it in the house. Don't tell nobody outside the house, right? And that's what's killing us.
Yeah, that's part
We
of it.
got to speak. And it's not only if we can speak up, but those around us. We have to be better as a community in learning how to support people who are victims, people who are being victimized, Black women in relationships who are married or partnered with abusive people. We got to stop calling them dumb and silly and
Yeah.
show support. And if it's just whispering, saying, sister, and if you need to come to my place, if you need to get away, I'm here for you. And then moving on.
I agree, and I think we got to stop saying we're in a mental health crisis when these things can be, because we can't blame everything on just saying mental health alone. I'm trying to
Exactly.
find those resources so I can put those resources up on the screen, but we cannot blame a pattern of violence and control on mental health. It's just
Exactly.
not. It's just there's just no way to do it. There's no way to say that this is a matter of mental health when there's you've seen a pattern of control and violence,
Mhm.
and then try to use that to, and you even see it on the news. Oh, we're in a mental health crisis.
Mhm.
But you're not addressing the root thing of that those patterns of violence and control.
I think saying we're in a mental health crisis is just a way of saying we're not going to do nothing.
Mm.
Because here's the thing, if you're in a crisis, it means you act now. It's just like the way that our culture frames school shootings. Politically, nothing's going to be done. But in the case of femicide, we have to deal with the root causes, which go back to these narrow definitions of masculinity and patriarchy. But for women, for me in this conversation, which is the most important thing, is dealing with cultivating the strength, the value, the worthiness of women so that when engaging with men, they can detect and discern red flags before they even date. But if they date, when they see a red flag, they have the strength to go the other way. The
Right.
intestinal strength, right? That they are not manipulated by their weaknesses, right? That we all can, every woman, Black women, get in therapy so you know your weaknesses, right? To me, that's most important. That if women are in marriages that you're dealing with narcissistic partners that are abusive and manipulative, that you have the strength and the community around you to get out. This is some things that's not going to change. And you can't
You,
change people.
and you
Mhm.
can't change it. Some things just can't change. Don't change.
And you can't.
I wanted to put these resources on the screen. I'm gonna try to put them in the chat too
Mhm.
at some point. But I wanted to make sure that these got on the screen so people get a chance to see those.
Mhm.
Um, and you mentioned rain. I didn't put rain. Hold on.
Rain, RAINN. And then it's just calling, what's it, 988. You can call
Yeah,
988.
these are, you could just call 988. These are some of the ones specifically for Black women. Oh, that's probably why I didn't have rain on there, because these are specifically.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
except for I did have the National Domestic Violence Hotline, so I'm gonna put 988. 988 is the National Suicide Prevention and what hotline, and um you can get resources for mental health.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Okay, so let me see if that one. Oh, it shows up as two separate ones because it was too big.
Okay.
But let me do the other one with rain on there. The Color Network Inc.
Mm.
and the Women's Area Center, Houston Area Women's Center. That's the number for Houston Area's Women's Center, if for
Mm-hmm.
anybody in the Houston area. And Rain is nationwide, right?
Nationwide, yeah, and they will direct you to or resources in your area and things like that. So they're kind of like they have a clearinghouse aspect to them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think that concludes our talk for today. If anybody has any questions, how can they reach out to you, Dr. Kim?
www.kimberlychandler.com. Just my name.
You can follow me here. I'm a part of the Joy Collection, the Joy Collective, or you can follow me here on YouTube under Drop the Cape. You also can email me at lisa@kmwellness.org. If you or someone you know is looking for therapy or therapy services, you can reach out directly by email at lisa@kmwellness.org. So we will see you next. Until next time, thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for seeing us. And so until next time.